We've got Louis on the call. I don't know, Louis, you can introduce yourself, and then Lily.
I'm Louis Zitting. I'm the MonitorBase founder, and yep, I started in the mortgage industry like you guys a long time ago, pre 2008, and we started MonitorBase 2007. So been through all the cycles.
All the cycles. And then Lily, go ahead.
Hi, I am Lily Roundy, previously Lily Staniforth, so I guess I didn't update my name in Zoom. But I've been at MonitorBase for about 5 years. I'm our VP of Business Relations, and if you're on our call, I've probably worked with you before. So I love all our clients, and it's good to see you all on the call.
Lily has worked with everyone. So, guys, today we're kind of focusing on a marketing message. And this, I'll kind of lead us out. This was sparked by a post I saw on LinkedIn, and it's relevant enough to share. And it's just a little conversation walkthrough. I don't know if you guys have gone through and tried ChatGPT, but this was a really simple engagement. And I'll share my screen here so you can see. But the concept was simple. Can ChatGPT just give one-word answers to the following questions? And I'm just going to go through it, and I'll let you guys kind of fill it in. But in case you can't screen share, I'm going to have to read it out loud. But the question is, what is the root of all good marketing? And ChatGPT's one-word answer was strategy. The next question, what is the best way to approach strategy? And the answer is research. So how will research make my marketing strategies better? And the answer is insight. So what will this insight help me do? And the answer is to connect. So why is connection important to successful marketing? The answer to that is trust. Now, this diverts a little bit, but what is the one skill that is absolutely critical to being a good marketer? And the answer is empathy. How does empathy help me be a better marketer? And the answer to that is understanding. And then it goes on to ask, if I had no marketing budget and could only invest in one thing, what should I invest in? And the answer to that is content. But why content? The answer is engagement. And what will engagement do? And the answer there is growth. So why is the key to great content? So, sorry, what is the key to great content marketing? And the answer is value. And how do I create value? And the answer is relevance. Now, final little set here. How do I know what is relevant? And the answer is your audience. And how can I get to know my audience and what is relevant to them? And the answer to that is listening. So, guys, it's a very simple demonstration of a set of questions and answers here. And I'll stop sharing my screen.
I love the best part of it is none of that is about how great the salesperson is or how great the pitch is. It starts to get into content, but really, in our world, content doesn't necessarily mean you're going on social media and being an influencer and making content. Some of you may do that, but it's just, what's the content of the message that you're going to be reaching out with? Is it value for the consumer that's going to make them trust you and it feel relevant to them? And that's, so I just love how that simplifies it so much that I think everyone should be thinking those points. Like when I'm picking up the phone to call a MonitorBase alert, am I calling them to ask a question or am I calling them with some relevant information?
And the thing I guess that struck me the most is I think we get really, I won't speak for everyone else. I get really bogged down in my job role when I'm thinking about, all right, how do I generate more leads for the team? And how do we convert better on these? And how do we go find opportunity here and filter that and this? And you get really into the weeds. But the simplicity of a one-word answer, giving you an incredibly clear objective for each and every step of a process, to me was enlightening. It took what was otherwise really complex and just unlimited possibilities and options, and it narrowed it down to a really singular focus of, you know what, I'm really focusing on research. And the goal of my research is to understand my audience so that I can communicate better. And that's really, to me, a powerful strategy that can be used. And that's kind of the framework of what we're going to be going through today, guys. We're going to try and use that framework we just went through and show you guys a strategy that fits within the framework. But I want to, I guess, let's do a little quick unofficial poll. But how many of you are focusing in the past, month or so? You're starting to turn your focus to try and capture FHA streamline refinances or VA IRRRLs. That last month or the month before that really wasn't a focus, but now you're starting to turn your attention to and wonder maybe not how you capture those this month, but how you're going to start capturing those with the Fed expected to lower rates here. And you can do that with a quick hand raise just so we get a sense of how many of you are actually in that mindset today. Looks like a couple of hands going up. And I don't expect what we go over today to be, completely revolutionary for you today, but I think you'll find it to be really useful later this month and next month and for the next 6 months. And so we're trying to stay ahead of the curve here because, frankly, the window of time that you're going to get on capturing, particularly the streamlines and the VA IRRRLs, is going to be limited because there are more companies than just you who are thinking about your past customers right now, and that's what I think is it's important to focus your strategy on the easiest and the lowest hanging fruit that's in the market today, or is going to be in the market in the next couple of months. Focus on those. A couple of reasons for that, but the biggest reason is, one, you actually have built a pipeline of people that you've already told, when rates drop, I'm going to help you. We'll get you a lower rate when they're available, and they're expecting to hear from you. But two, if you don't focus on those people first, if you get bogged down with some of the more complex deals, some of the ones that take more work, there are other lenders that are going to be out there targeting your streamline refinance opportunities and your VA IRRRL opportunities, and they're going to close those in weeks after those become eligible. And unfortunately, even if you're doing helping people with challenging deals, you could have done 3 or 4 streamline refinances instead of one of these deals. So I just want to emphasize the importance of, it's not just about, just doing the easy stuff first because it's easy. If you don't do the easy stuff first, someone else will do it.
Or at least engage at this point, because
exactly,
they're going to be pounded with offers in the mail and the phone and, display advertising everywhere. Like, the budget's just turned back on for big consumer direct companies, right? That's what happens in these sort of cycles. And the rates haven't come down that much, but there is a chunk of people that are refinancing it instantly turned on when the rates went down. The very next week, we could see activity in there. So yeah, I mean, the connection is important because you already have a personal connection and hopefully some trust built just based on the fact that someone referred them to you, or you had a conversation and they know you're in the community, whatever it might be. So, we can't emphasize more that when you're getting these predictive alerts or inquiry alerts, you just need to say, hey, I'm here, how you doing? Wanted to check in, see how things are going. And it might be easier than you think because they could be talking to somebody they don't yet trust.
And one of the things here, guys, is not many of these people are in a big rush. There isn't a sense of urgency that they have to get it done right now. And so when Louis mentions starting the engagement right now is important, I think it's really important to grasp that the work that you do today, the engagement you do today, isn't necessarily about having to get the loan application this week. If you start the conversation and you set the expectations and say, hey, as soon as we can save you more than, let's set a benchmark, as soon as I can save you more than $83 per month, establish what that baseline is. I'm going to call you And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you know, hey, today we were able to lock in your loan. We're going to get you that $83 savings that we talked about and went through the numbers on. Like, you've already established what they're looking for, and you're there to let them know the moment that they've passed that bench line and you can get them that deal, that you've already kind of gone through the math and penciled out for them what's available. What you don't want to be doing is calling them once they're already working with another lender, trying to talk them into coming to you instead and then fighting them on price. It's like, that's a losing battle. If you can identify those opportunities that are close, even if they're not there this week, when they're close, talk to them in advance. That will be a pipeline that is very easily to engage at the right time. And you're not calling saying, hey, Louis, have you thought about refinancing? Do you want to get a lower rate? It's like, hey, we talked a couple months ago and we said this was exactly when you were ready to do it. And I'm calling you as your trusted advisor. Today's the day. Rates have changed. I can lock you in right now. Let's make this happen. This is what we need. It's a very different mindset. It's a very different approach. But one of the best ways that we've seen in the market to filter that is, the predictive analytics, where we're consistently identifying those opportunities and sending them to you. But I'll do. How many of you are actually using predictive alerts right now and finding refi opportunities through that? Because it's less than half of our users that consistently use predictive. And so, yeah, a couple of hands go up. I appreciate it, guys. But some of you, maybe your company hasn't been turning it on. Maybe you've not used it in the past. You're not even sure what we're talking about. Predictive is a great tool, but today we kind of want to focus on the new tool set that we built called OnDemand. And I kind of think this is the gateway drug to predictive, because it's you coming in and setting up exactly the kind of predictive alert that you want, and then just buying those records so that you get that set of predictive opportunities. So have any of you been able to mess around in and check out the OnDemand system yet? I think it's pretty sweet. I'll just show you guys a little bit of quick screen share.
It's quite new. It's still in beta, and so I don't think a ton of you have probably used it yet. But the reason that this is relevant right now, and we've been building it, and it was wonderful timing, because we know anytime that rates start to come down, we have predictive alerts that are going to kind of pick up on those high rate deals. But still, there's so many people that are like, I just want to put this whole database in, and I just need to know who has an FHA loan from this time to this time and the credit. And the predictive component I'm not worried about, because I'm going to just talk to every one of them about what we're talking about. Like, hey, how you doing? We're just preparing and getting ready so that, you're here. As soon as it's here, I'm going to call you and make that connection ahead of time, so that they don't engage with a stranger or their credit union or whatever that might be. They can just say, oh, wait, I already talked to William. I'm going to just go and find that email and email him back.
And it's anybody in your database. So just remember, it's not just, going back to your list of people that you closed a loan for since 2022. It's any contact that you've put into your MonitorBase account, prospect, lead, pre-qual. You can go in there and say, filter them down by, any of the criteria here. One of those, if we're talking about VA IRRRLs and FHA Streamline refinances, I can go in here and filter to has an open mortgage. So I don't want to know, the people that don't have a mortgage, just the ones with an active open mortgage. And then I only want FHA and VA mortgage types in that list. And maybe I only want ones that closed. What was the date you said, Louis? It was
like June 2022 or around there.
Opened after 06/01 2022, and maybe I want to give them the 6-month window, so 6 months in the past, so 03/01 2024. And I can go in here and set loan to value limits if they're relevant. They probably aren't for Streamline refinances. I can exclude things like if they, have a specific balance limit. You can add filtering in there if their property's listed or not. I can get rid of loans, if they have a second lien on the property, I don't want to know about it. Perhaps I know, I work in Texas and there's no subordination on that set of down payment assistance programs, whatever. I can establish additional criteria here beyond just the FHA and VA loan type. And then none of these alerts are going to come through. You're not going to get anything if they don't meet your credit criteria. And when I'm through, I can hit get counts, and I'm in my demo account, so I don't actually think this is going to show me anything. Yep, still running 0 in the demo system. I didn't want to show you guys a live account because you get some live credit data on accident that way. But it will tell you out of your database that there are, 212 people that meet the criteria that you've set. And maybe you want a bigger list, or maybe you want a smaller list, and you can go in here and narrow the criteria down or widen the criteria out to get to a quantity of contacts that you'd like. And so I'll stop the share here. If you kind of go back to the concept that we were talking about, it's a strategy that starts with research. And the research is truly a form of identifying and listening so that you can understand your database.
And be relevant.
And exactly, it's like, if you want to be relevant in your outreach, if I want to be able to reach out to a list of people and have them pay attention and have them actually get value in the engagement, I need to understand those people before I start speaking. And, all of us, and I'm guilty of this more than any of you, because I think I make more videos on social media than any of you guys. I'd be interested if any of you guys make more, but like, I get up there and I sit down and I start writing a script, and I'll get halfway through like deciding the outline of what I want to talk about today. And it's like, hey, I'm talking about myself again. And I have to throw that piece of paper away and start again, because what people care about is when you talk about them, and when you are talking about their problems, and how there is a solution to those problems. And if you can help them in that process, it's valuable. But to just jump in and be like, hey guys, I have the very best rate, you need to come to me because I am the best service, and it's all about me. It's the kind of thing that when you're talking about content, whether it's an email in my inbox, or a social media post, or a voicemail, or a phone call from somebody, if they start out talking about themselves, I've already decided I don't want to listen in most cases. And I think that's the case for just about everyone on this call. And so that research stage, that listening stage, that understanding stage, so that the content, again, whether that's a voicemail, whether that's an email, whether that's a post on your social media, whatever it is, so that it's relevant to them, so that it's about them and their struggles, is the important step.
Well, and we built the tool to save you time. Like, when I was an originator, I did, just cold calling. I started when I was young, just cold calling until I was like, this sucks. I have no context of what's going on with these people. And so that's why there's so many no's, and you're just searching for somebody that might be a yes because they're interested, right? So this is about saving you time, but it's also saving the consumer time. And that's how you want to think about, like, even the on-demand tool is, you might have 1,000 people in there, you go put in some basic criteria and it whittles it down to 200. And it's like, okay, that's much different. And now we know what to talk about. So that's the relevant, that's the relevant part. And it will also help them trust you, because you still know something about them. They might, hopefully have some memory of how you guys are connected. And if you can just hit on all those points, like, here's how we're connected, trust. Here's what I want to talk, to you about specifically. That's the relevance part, because of what's in the alert or whatever their scenario is at the time. And then, don't ask for something from them like, hey, do you want to take an application for this now? Just give them the info, be there, do all those parts, and then they're gonna tell you if they're ready to go. Or in a month from now, if all of a sudden all the news articles are the rates went down 0.5%, they don't know that that's not the exact same as the mortgage rate. They're just going to see it in the news, and then they're going to talk to somebody. So yeah, that's the, I mean, the relevance part I really want to hit on, because it's like you can have such a better engagement rate if the subject comes up that's something that has to do with them.
And what you're demonstrating, I think, is you're demonstrating that you truly understand them. You understand the position they're in. You're not just showing up to sell them something that they, aren't interested in right now. And that understanding is going to help you deliver value to them in that engagement. And by showing up, demonstrating that you've taken the time to understand them, by showing up and delivering value first, you're going to build trust and you're going to reestablish the existing trust. And that's the kind of thing that's really difficult for a competitor to come in and disrupt you with. A competitor who's calling out of the blue, trying to push this person to buy their product from them when they have no previous engagement, they have no insight, they have no context for that outreach, is a really difficult uphill battle. People do it, and they do it like Louis was describing, by cold calling until they happen to catch that person at the right moment and their message happens to align. But like 99% of their effort is going to people who aren't interested right now, who they just, it isn't quite lined up. We're talking about being able to take the list of people who you already have a relationship with, you already have an existing connection to, and so your response is really good. There's already pre-existing trust. And then when you approach that group with a thoughtful strategy that relies on delivering value first and demonstrating that understanding, you're going to create this instant trust and instant reconnection that really is not going to be able to be something someone else could replicate or disrupt you. That, they don't have that existing relationship with this list of people. And as a consequence of that, you already have a huge advantage over them. So that's the strategy. Oh, good. Yeah.
I think a lot of the questions that come up is, why is this different than predictive? Because doesn't predictive do that? And the predictive does do that. And there's a actual predictive component to it that's not in on-demand, but it feels like we've gone somewhat backwards by releasing that tool, but we've found that so many people were asking for it because they have some really specific, little niches that we have no clue about, and they've set that up in their community, and they're like, one of the predictives are great as far as all the products that we know and the activities that are going to happen on average, but I have this really specific deal with this great big employer, and I want to run all these people through because I have a special product for them, or just the timing changes, some down payment assistance program changes in your area, whatever that might be. So think of that, of what on-demand is for, is that's your specific little tool to go and run people through if you have a niche little product or change in the market.
No, that was I'm glad you brought that up, because I totally spaced that aspect of, you guys actually often have that foresight into changes that are happening, and we operate a little bit more in the rearview mirror. We're looking in the data and we can see as changes happen and we're adapting to that. But we have people coming to us for on-demand that specifically are like, hey, this investor announced this program today, like today, it wasn't available yesterday. We're ready to capitalize on it, and so we need this specific list. Our predictive system might have picked up on that opportunity, but it would have likely been in 30 days from now, and you guys have those opportunities in a way that I think we just we don't have the eyeballs or the ears to hear and to see and to understand all of the things that are going on. And so your ability to step in and get those lists first is, I think, again, your competitive advantage here.
Yeah, and I'd love to, if give us any questions that you guys have, as far as, right now is kind of a pivotal moment. This is when the product and the predictive alerts and everything is it's already super valuable. Those are converting just in the last couple of weeks so much better. Inquiry alerts are up, so we know activity's just going. But what questions do you guys have as far as, what to be doing now that's different with your, MonitorBase alerts or tools? besides just, continue to engage. I think following up with some of the past predictive alerts, if you get those, actually even your inquiries, that's really important. What we're seeing big time right now is that there's a trend of, if people were in the market in the last 2 years, meaning they've had some inquiry 6, 8, 12 months ago, but didn't get a transaction, those ones are probably the most active right now because they're all jumping back on it. And so that's happening. The cash outs are starting to work out better. And by the way, a big leading indicator of cash out loans, everyone thinks it's revolving debt. It's actually great big auto payments. So there's some things that we're seeing in there that, I mean, I'd love to hear from you guys if you have any questions on how could we tailor these a little bit better for the next one. Do you want us to get into more detail on the consumer communicating with the consumer, or should it be more on what's going on in the data or what's changing? But yeah, anytime, we'd love to hear from you. You can email us directly if you want, or just throw it in the chat.
Yeah, and I haven't seen any questions come through yet today. So if you guys have questions, definitely let us know in the chat, but you can reach out to Louis or I or Lily. It's William at MonitorBase, Lily at MonitorBase, or Louis at MonitorBase, which is, I think, spelled the same way as on the screen, Louis. But Grant, it looks like your hand is up with a question. There aren't too many people I can allow you to talk here, so let me click that, and we'll see if this works.
Hey,
Hi,
how's it
Grant.
going?
Going good. How are you?
Good, good. Hey, so the chat says it's disabled, so I thought I'd just raise my hand and ask.
Oh,
The piece that was very intriguing, you just mentioned it just a couple of minutes ago, about like big installment or auto loans being a leading indicator for like debt consol and doing additional stuff. If you can or would kind of enlighten me.
yeah. So I don't know why, but that's what we found when we went and analyzed the data of what are the cash out transactions that are actually successful versus the ones that aren't, right? Because we can go and see, here's all the people that applied for a mortgage and ended up getting a cash out, because we can see that their mortgage balance grew, but they stayed in the home. So being able to see those successes, then we can go and put those into like a regression algorithm and say, what's the difference between these people that did and the people that didn't? And we've got 200 different credit attributes, and it was very much pointing to that. It was we assumed it would be great big revolving debt balances or revolving debt utilization, which that's the second one. But it was actually more important. I mean, it was more of an indicator if they had big auto payments. My theory is your revolving debt, you can pay the payments and then use some of that the very next month if you need to, when things are getting super tight. But with an auto loan,
It's just
people
there.
got $1,200 auto loans, like just crazy amounts. And
the average is 800.
Right. So yeah, I mean, that's the theory, but I mean, we just let the data kind of tell us what's going on. And then another one in that, more people that have 180 month terms are more successful in completing a cash out. And that's kind of obvious because it's probably they've been paying down their balance a little bit faster, probably have some more equity. But yeah, I think, cash outs haven't been super successful as what we've all wanted. But just now in the last couple of weeks, it seems like more of those are getting done because there's a little more benefit to it if the rates are a little bit lower.
Right.
So I can see that picking up over and over. I mean, there's going to be some streamlines in VA IRRRLs, and those are going to evaporate so fast. And so that's why we're trying to tell people, get on top of those now. If you have the relationship, just tell them, hey, I'm ready as soon as it's time. I'm going to solve this for you. But I think the cash outs are going to be an ongoing thing because the rates come down a little bit and a little bit more, throughout early 15. They don't even have to come way down. It's just going to open up so many cash out opportunities. And I mean, it's slowly happening already.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Sure. Thanks, Grant. All right. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't realize chat was disabled. I can't find that in the settings. We're going to have to do a little research before our next call. But if you guys have other questions, feel free to raise your hands and I can unmute you here, but appreciate the engagement. We are at the end of the time for the call. I still have a few minutes, so I'm happy to stay on if other questions come through, but I know some of you may have to jump off. But again, really grateful for those of you who did join the call today, who engage here and show up and give us a chance to see if we can help out and add value. Hopefully you found some useful information here. Louis, any kind of final thoughts? Lily?
No, I think I'm good. I mean, give us all the feedback you can. We're trying to tailor these for you, answer those, whatever the gaps are in turning these alerts into deals and saving time for you. So if what we're saying is spurring other questions, email them over and say, hey, we'd love to have this be a subject of one of the coachings. We'd love to hear that.
I have a question in the Q&A from Dustin Pickett. It says, are there any role-playing videos that might be helpful when making the calls?
Oh, we haven't done videos. We've got our script and playbooks. That's kind of an example of how to go back and forth with those.
We've never made it as a video.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll consider how we could make that useful, and that might just be more simple.
Also, the script and playbook is found either inside the dashboard when you're looking at the alert. There's a link to it. It should be in the email as well that's delivered to you as a link, or you can just go to our knowledge base and type in, the alert type and script, and it will pull up the script for that.
So we definitely have all that content in writing. We just haven't made them into videos. So that's an area that I think we could probably do a little bit more development in if you feel like the videos would be a little bit easier to digest and a little more useful. Funny enough, it would probably be easier for us to make than the content we're currently doing.
Yeah, and the scripts are pretty simple, but it's kind of like following the formula that we talked about today of, hey, think of a relevant piece, remind them how they know you. So that's the trust part, the relevant part, and then just try and connect on what could possibly be happening in the future. So they know you're there, ready to help. Obviously the inquiry alerts, they're in the market. So you might take a little different approach to those of like, hey, if you're in the market, I'd love to make sure and give you a competitive offer. But yeah, so anyway, go ahead and look through the scripts.
Yeah, Dustin has a follow-up question as well. It says, on the scripts, why do you suggest that we not specifically tell them that we have an alert on their credit?
I mean, you could, and in fact, you want to bring up, hey, I have a system that periodically pre-screens my consumers so they know that this is a relevant conversation as far as you meet credit criteria. But I think if you bring up detail into what you know about their credit, one, there's the credit data that you get, the only permissible purpose for that is for you as the lender to see. And for the consumer, then it starts to make it seem weird because they're wondering, how did you access my credit? I thought that I was supposed to take an application. This whole conversation of what a soft pull is just takes away from the whole point. So, I mean, I would say, hey, I've got a system. It periodically pre-screens my clients. So you popped up. So I just wanted to check in and catch up. It's been a long time, a year and a half since we talked at blah, blah, blah. And, ask them or tell them, here's some changes that are happening in your neighborhood. Here's some, listings are going up, whatever kind of bit of info you can give them that's going to be valuable to them and get them talking. Just focus on that.
And it can work, Dustin, to just be upfront. We have plenty of people who take that approach. I just want to emphasize the playbooks that we have in place are, our best attempt to give you what, generally works, but the person and your relationship to that person. And so I would never look at the playbook and say, oh, I better say this only because William said so, or because Louis said so here. It's like, the person, the relationship, your discretion is going to be, incredibly valuable there. So I would always look at those as a guide and a starting point. But, depending on who you're monitoring and who you just got that alert on is really going to determine what to say more than anything else. So hopefully that kind of clarifies for you as, a starting point versus where you can take it with those playbooks.
I would just add as a final thought for everything, if you have questions about either the on-demand system, or if you want to talk more about, and what I think is relevant to this particular question from Dustin is feeling like you're educated about what the system does in order to answer any rebuttals. So if you're not familiar with pre-screen, or you don't know the particulars about how that works and why it's beneficial for consumers, that's something that we could help direct you to some articles on Experian and help you feel really educated, so that if consumers do ask you questions about like the credit aspect of it, that you can feel capable and qualified in helping educate your clients. So anyway, my final thought is, if you have any questions about the on-demand system, or if you would like some more guidance on what we're doing as far as credit is concerned with pre-screen in our system, you can always book a one-on-one call with us, or just call us, and any of us would be happy to help provide you some additional resources one-on-one.
Perfect. Well, I think that was the last of the questions that came in. We're a couple of minutes over, which is awesome. We love the engagement. So thank you guys for the questions that you sent in. And this is recorded. So we have transitioned this over to a webinar. So if that caused any issues, hopefully it didn't. We were just, with the way the meeting was previously working, it didn't quite work the way it needed to get people the reminders they needed. So hopefully this is a better solution. Thank you guys, everyone who joined the call. We look forward to meeting with you guys next month. We do this monthly on the first Tuesday of every month, but hope you guys have a great rest of your week and an awesome September, because we're in the month of September now.
We're there. Okay, thanks.
Guys.